Thanks for doing this.
Not at all.
Is it a very busy day, promotionally speaking?
Not really, no.
No? Okay, good. Well, I'm excited. I think this is like long overdue. The retrospective at Lincoln Center called Human Conditions. And had there been many retrospectives other, like this with this kind of scope?
Well, there was one in London at the end of last year.
Oh,
at the National Film Theatre, British Film Institute Theatre, where they showed everything, including all my television films. So it was, in a way, it was an even wider scope than this one, and it was very good. I attended a lot of screenings, and the great thing was, it played to packed houses, and there were a lot of young people in the audience. So it was good news. Yeah, it was good.
that is, yeah. I mean, what do you owe the like younger generations discovering your films? Do you have any theories about that?
Well, I suppose if you push me to speculate about it,
I'm going to force your arm on this one.
Well,
yeah.
they the fact is, my films, I suppose, are, it's not for me to say, but they're hopefully truthful and about people, and they speak to everybody, and young people. I mean, there are films I made, like Meantime, which was made a long time ago, and young people, absolutely, there it is, and great that you've got it.
Yeah. Well, I do my own retrospectives of your films quite frequently. So
excellent news. Well, that film, it's kind of, in an old-fashioned, otherworldly place, but actually it totally speaks to young people and anyone that's sensitive to the whole predicament of unemployment and families and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and it's and because your themes tend to be very universal and so much about the human condition, it turns out that of course those are timeless things that people they'll always feel fresh and of the moment. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah. And even like, you take a movie like Vera Drake, how contemporary is that how relevant is that in the United States at the moment?
At this moment, of course it is.
It's amazing.
I would like to think that I would like to see it disseminated more widely than just being in the retrospective at the Lincoln Center, because it is, it does, hopefully, well, without question, it reminds us always what the alternative is, and it'll be about, backstreet abortionists will, as we call them, will be rife in these states if it goes
right. It's not going to prevent anybody who's determined to have an abortion. It'll just make it less safe and of course, right. I think another reason why, maybe just to tie up what we were just discussing in terms of younger folks, I mean, also in just the ubiquity of films now being available through so many more ways. There's so much more available. So no doubt, especially in the UK, I assume, I don't know if they stream them on BritBox or some of the other services, but
they do, but they're certainly, everything's available.
Yeah,
on DVD and Blu-ray, no, they do, and they get disseminated,
Are you? Sorry to interrupt you, Mike. Are you going to be at the Vera Drake? Is that one of the ones you're going to be at for?
No, I'm afraid no. I'm going to do Naked, Secrets and Lies, and Topsy Turvy at the weekend.
What played into your choosing those? Did you choose?
I didn't.
It was okay. You were told when to show up.
That's the one.
Essentially.
I'm happy to show up, whatever. I'm cool,
And yeah, at the first time I remember running into you many years back, you were actually, it was for Happy Go Lucky, and you were hanging out we were at the Walter Reed, and you and Sally just happened to be hanging out in the room across from the theater, and I was in there, and I had you all to myself for a few minutes. So that was when I was, because as I always would say when I do talk to you, is that as a young guy in 1990, I happened to be in the Village walking by the marquee that said, "Life is Sweet." And I walked in based on the poster, not knowing who you were. And that's what.
Good.
What do you think I mean, I think people who really get a lot of tickets, there's a whole other benefit to immersing yourself in a bunch of the screenings as opposed to, let's just say, one or two.
Absolutely. Now, as a moviegoer myself,
yeah,
I love that. I mean, I love when like, for example, when the film festival's on in London, I just go and see loads and loads of movies. But as you say, it's great to really, I mean, my memory goes back to all kinds of bunches of movies by one filmmaker. I mean, I was around in the mid-60s when Raymond Rohar had unearthed all these Buster Keaton movies, because at first, when I first started looking at movies, there were only 2 Buster Keaton movies around.
That's amazing.
The General, The Navigator. There were no other Buster Keaton movies at all. And this guy dug around in Hollywood and he found all these prints. I mean, James Mason had lived in a house that Buster Keaton had once previously lived in, and he had all these nitrate prints in his garage, you know, and this guy, you know, so there was a massive Buster Keaton program at the National Film Theatre in London, and we just went to that. We just queued up every day and saw, and this guy talked about them, you know, and it was sort of like a blast. And I love all that. Yeah, it's great, you
know. Let me remind people it's the retrospective, and I'm burning the lead here. I should have mentioned this at the very beginning, but I will be making it very clear to people about the dates here. The retrospective runs at the Walter Reed Theater at Lincoln Center from May 27th through the 8th. And you will be again at a number of Q&As, so people should definitely be grabbing tickets real quick if you're interested in talking to Mike Leigh. Other themes that you feel like, I was talking to someone just before about Naked, and talking about how I attended back in 1990. What year was it that, I think around 90 that it came here, right?
No, we made it in 1992. It came
92. Yeah. And I saw it with some female friends, and everybody, you know, it's like I had already seen it once before, so I took a few friends, and they, and this is not a criticism of the film, of course, because they all had a problem with Johnny, like he was like they felt the movie was misogynist, and I'm like, are you? This is not. This is about a character who's angry.
No, I think that's right, and you are right. In fact, when the film first came out, there was quite a strong militant feminist reaction against the film. Interestingly enough, by the end of the 90s, that seemed to have disappeared completely, actually, and people got it more. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the misogynist in the film, the real misogynist, is the landlord character.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And Johnny, I mean, you know, Johnny it's hard, it's wrong, I think, for anyone to talk about Naked in very simple black and white terms. It's a complex film, and he's a complex character. And certainly his behavior is open to criticism, but then that's true of all of us, you know.
And really, I mean, if he hates anyone, it's himself, and anyone who reaches out to him rather, is going to kind of get themselves burnt, you know, like.
I think that's right. I think you're right. But even that, you're right. But even that errs on the edge of being more being an oversimplification.
Well, you know. If you want to cancel a couple of your subsequent interviews, we can get into the weeds here. I'm happy to do it.
No, it's fine.
I've seen it quite a few times. In fact, I can just say again, I'll just keep
good.
Naked. And then I think this is one of your favorites.
but certainly the film we made.
You don't want to, you can't choose favorites with your children. I understand.
No, absolutely. That's exactly right.
Yeah. But when we were talking, I don't expect you to remember because you do hundreds, maybe thousands of these over the years where you're talking to people like me. But I only talked to one Mike Leigh. And when we were talking, we met at Peterloo and around Peterloo, that was the last time. And it was about 3 years ago. And you had just gotten in from LA. And then I found out that the guy who was supposed to be after me couldn't make it. So I had a whole hour with you, which was like, wonderful. But the point is we were talking about that. And then it just came around. I mentioned a couple of other films. And then you said, what did you think of Secrets and Lies? You asked me in particular about that, like what my feelings were about that film. So I guess I was thinking maybe that's one that has a special resonance to you or something.
I have no idea why I would have asked you that. It must have been in the context of something you were saying.
Yeah.
But it certainly isn't because it's my favorite film or anything. But there must have been a particular reason to do with the conversation we were having.
Okay. So do you have any time in New York to do anything else while you're in the city?
Not especially, no. I mean, I'll just hang around a bit, and I'm here with my partner, and we just like to hang out.
That's fair. I guess it's fair. And how long are you in?
Just for a few days.
So they're gonna top load your.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just
appearances.
Really my principal appearances on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I
got you. Okay. And I have a question about, are you in development? I have to ask, are you in you guys in any early stages of development of a next project yet? Or
no, we've had a lot of difficulty finding the backing for a film. It's not as easy as it used to be. Hopefully things will happen. People are talking about it, but it's been quite a long gap since the last film,
Yeah,
I mean, the pandemic, of course, has quite a lot to do with it. But at the moment, I'm just looking for the funding.
I got you. Oh well, at least there is a desire to go on and do another.
Yes, well, as long as it happens quite sooner rather than later.
Yes,
I'm 79.
I know. I wish you a happy birthday when it comes around. I guess you haven't been getting my
your messages. No.
I have to do a better job at that. It is, let's see, we'll go into a couple of the details. Oh, I know what I should say. Here's something that we could talk about real briefly. 3 of the director's films will be presented in 35 millimeter, which the Walter Reed can still do, which is all or nothing. Vera Drake, we talked, and Happy Go Lucky, all presented in 35 millimeter.
That's good news. I mean, in the end, look, digital is great. You can do all fantastic things with it, but just, it's just nice that you can show 35 mil prints. It's good.
And do you get to do that in the UK much when you show your films?
Yeah, depending on the venue, yes. I mean, like the National Film Theatre in London, which is the equivalent of the Lincoln Centre, could do it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be facing a lot of like real cinephiles and film lovers, so I think that's going to be a big deal for them. I would imagine, like a real nice bonus that it's in 35 millimeter.
Yes.
You mentioned the teleplays were not included, but we don't have to dwell on that.
No, that's fair enough. It's fair enough. I mean, the fact that they were in London is neither here nor there. That was a very comprehensive perspective. But that they're showing all the feature films here is great news. I'm really pleased,
Yeah, with a couple of other short films, right? Or short projects that you've done.
Yes.
What a Sense of History.
Well, that's a film, that's a very unusual film for me because it's the only film I've made that somebody else wrote.
Oh, okay.
Jim Broadbent wrote it himself. He was pottering around in the countryside and he sort of improvised and he's had this monologue about this earl, this lord, walking around his estate, owning up to various crimes. And he put it down as a script. And he said to me, you know, I know you don't do scripts, but have a look at this. And it was such a gas that I said, well, we must do it. And it's very funny and it's great. So we got some backing from Channel 4, and we did it in the winter of whatever you were, 1992. And it's great, but it's just really Jim's baby, and he does a fantastic performance. And we had a lot of fun doing it, you know.
What is that the only time that you were a director for hire? I mean, let's say once your career got started.
Yes, it's the only time.
Has that have any appeal to you at all, doing something like that again?
No, no, that's not what I do, but I did that. He's a mate, and it was a good project, and it just was nice to do. No.
Again, it's called Human Conditions. Do you have any participation in the title of this retrospective?
No.
Would you?
Yeah, but it's very nice, you know.
It applies.
Certainly, it applies. Yeah. Yeah.
In these days, you know, so many of the characters that you know that come to mind. We talked, of course, about Johnny from Naked, and that are struggling with a sense of hopelessness. But many times, the characters, there is that desire to I don't know, to fight for their lives, to kind of fight for survival. Well, and that's, I think, what I take away from so many. There's, you know,
yeah, I always think that the two films of mine that sit as siblings, if you like, are Naked and Happy Go Lucky. The interesting thing I think about, which only occurred to me after I'd made Happy Go Lucky, is that both Johnny and Poppy, Sally Hawkins' character, they're both idealists.
Right.
They're both, but the difference is that he is a frustrated idealist, a disappointed idealist, and it makes him turn in on himself. And she is a positivist. She's actually an idealist that puts her money where her mouth is, and she confronts things, and she's proactive. That's the difference. But I think they are. I think you could regard those two films as being, in a way, a pair.
See, these are the kinds of things, everyone, that you can talk to Mike Leigh about at these Q&As that are going to take place. You can have these types of conversations, and I assume that even though many years have gone by, that you still are you still learning about your own films and stories when you have these conversations?
Yes, absolutely. And certainly the great thing about discussions and Q&As and even interviews, you know, is that it makes you think about what you've been doing. Yeah, you do learn from it, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Well, in this case, I knew that we had a very kind of, you know, relatively abbreviated amount of time together. So I didn't expect to get too much into the weeds about specific film titles more. But you know, this was still like such a joy. I'm so grateful that, you know, you were able to make some time to do this. And since I couldn't be there in person, glad we were able to hook it up still over Zoom. You know?
Good old Zoom. Very, very useful, isn't it, really?
I guess so, yeah. Otherwise I would have had it driven down, and with gas prices.
I don't think I had done a Zoom at all before the pandemic started.
No, I didn't.
But during the course of it, I mean, it became sort of, you know, we did it all the time, like every day. It was fantastic, you know.
Yeah. So you don't mind it?
No, well, I've got used to it, you know.
Yeah, right. Like anything else. Well, I hope this is a gratifying experience for you. I'm sure it will be. New Yorkers love Mike Leigh, and like Mike Leigh in movies, more importantly. And
well, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I personally can't be down there in person for this particular, you know, time. But I'll do my own retrospective.
Very good. Great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.